And welcome everybody to another 1UpXP Show podcast. Today we are exploring a wing, if you will, of video games or something that falls in the umbrella that we haven't talked about yet. And that's health, medical, physical, fatigue, whatever it is, or physical or mental, whatever it is, this is where it falls under. And we're going to introduce you to somebody who is very special in this field. But first, we got to hit that intro. Here we go. And welcome everybody to the 1UpXP Show. I am thankfully and happily, I screwed up that intro again. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm dealing with somebody who I have not dealt with in this field before. And GamerDoc, welcome to the 1UpXP Show podcast. I've mentioned to many people this week that I'm going to be sitting down with you, and they're like, wait, esports medicine. And then I start explaining some of the things that I've seen you tweet about, some of the things that are in your book, and they're like, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, it really does, 100%. But thank you for joining me, GamerDoc, esports doctor, licensed medical professional, and some may say, well, I need more information on this. So thank you for joining me. I again, lost for words because I don't even know where to start when we talk about esports medicine.
It's hard because a lot of people don't even understand what esports is. So then they're like, but you need a doctor? Yeah. And that's the next conversation. But thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm from Michigan originally, so coming back home virtually.
Yes, and I love it because you and I share that love-hate relationship for the Detroit Lions, and yeah, we can just say Sundays. Hey, we set records. We just set records the wrong way. We are the first team in NFL history to lose back-to-back games by 50-yard field goals. 50-plus yard field goals. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like that record we set when not winning a game in a season. That was fun.
Yeah, that was, maybe we were trying to break that again. I don't know. But thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it because you are a busy lady. You have so many things on your plate right now because, as you mentioned, if you don't know her Twitter, we'll get to that in a little bit, but you really do lay it out flat, clear, and when you read your tweets and kind of bring them in and make sense. Like the NFL, if they don't have a trainer, I mean, what happens? You have pro athletes playing video games. They don't have a trainer. What happens? It only makes sense to have a trainer in the sport you are playing or a doctor of a medical field of some sort. And you are filling that gap. You have built a brand around it. You are, do I dare say, a founder of esports medicine?
We joke around, but I might have written a book so I could do the Bernie Sanders when someone tries to question me, be like, I wrote the book. I would say, there's a lot of really wonderful people. The physical therapists were in this field a lot earlier than I,
right.
But, I am one of the only doctors doing this. And there's Dr. Melita Moore, Dr. Dominic King, Dr. Haley Zabel, but, we are the only ones doing this. So I would say we are the founders.
The founders. And I love it because the thing is, it just never came to my brain. You don't, I guess when you think of video games, you don't associate a doctor. And maybe that is the stereotype that has to change as well. You don't think that a kid's going to need a doctor because he's playing video games. But, that's far from the truth. You need a doctor in many different fields or aspects of video games, whether it's mental, physical, whether it's, anything under the sun. Telehealth is a huge thing now. So it seems like you fit right in with everything that is going on, especially with the pandemic. So it seems like you don't have to physically be with someone to help them out as a doctor or in a related medical field. So before we get too deep into the podcast, we do want to introduce you. Like you said, you are from Michigan, down by the Detroit area, if I'm not mistaken. But give us the background. Who is GamerDoc? How did you get to be GamerDoc? And kind of walk us through the steps how you ended up being GamerDoc.
You want my villain origin story?
Oh yes, like Doc Haskell said, He was spit out. He was bit by a radiation spider and came out of a Miss Pac-Man machine.
Well, mine's not quite as interesting, but I would choose Miss Pac-Man as well. So good on you, Doc.
Yeah.
So I am, born and raised in Michigan. When I was 6 or 7, my grandfather gave me a Nintendo 64. That tells you how old I am. And I was just hooked to Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
And thank God the man gave me the guidebook too, because I can't imagine playing a Zelda game as a 7-year-old with no guidebook. It was before the interwebs was the thing, so you couldn't Google it. I was just hooked. I was hooked on video gaming since then. And gaming had always been a part of my life. Getting older, you do the natural progression, and then you start playing multiplayer. And then I went to college and started getting really good at video gaming. And then I went to med school. And when you're in med school, this thing happens where, as soon as you say you're going to med school, you're in your first semester, you learn about statistics, and you have to learn about the Krebs cycle over again. I have no idea why, but people start asking you medical advice, right? And in the beginning, it's kind of fun because you're like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor in 4 years, no big deal. But then people are like, oh, I have this rash. Can you tell me what it is? And it's like, I don't know, dude. I don't get to the skin until like 2 years. Or people have a cough and they want antibiotics and blah, 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 blah. But that started happening to me while I was gaming. I would have the same group of dudes I would game with every single night. And they'd be like, my neck's hurting, my pinky's hurting, my back's hurting. Like, what I got, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, I don't know, dude, go to your doctor. And they go to their doctor, and then the doctor would come back and be like, they told you to stop playing video games. Which is so weird because it's like, if you're a runner and runner's your passion, your doctor wouldn't say, oh man, you're just done with running. That's fine. You don't need to run. But we have that same approach to video gaming. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I was like, what do I love? Video gaming. Where can I make the biggest impact? Video gaming. Let's go. So here we are.
That is awesome. I love that, because you are exactly correct. If a doctor would tell you not to play video games, I'm not going to stop playing video games.
Right.
There's got to be another option. It seems like if you get something, a diagnosis or something, there always seems to be other options in most cases. So I feel like saying you can't play video games anymore, I mean, you just don't tell somebody you can't do anything unless it's like the last end all be all option.
Right.
But there's always a way around it, and I'm so happy that you chose the esports field. Okay, so we got you there. We now have GamerDoc. You have some achievements under your belt, and even more to come. Because I do want to mention this, if you don't mind, but you're nominated for Top Educated from GameHers.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I mean,
and I voted. Anybody who listens to this, go and vote. Listen to her podcast and then make your decision, or you can tweet at her. Maybe she'll answer you and make your decision. But I highly recommend voting for her, as she really knows her stuff. But nominated for that, you have a book out, which no small feat there, because this is not just an ordinary book. This is a straight up textbook. And you have that book, The Handbook of Esports Medicine, Clinical Aspects of Competitive Video Gaming. You are now part of Evil Geniuses org, which is amazing. And there's so many other things. I don't want to forget anything. Is there anything else that is the achievements of GamerDoc here?
Those are my highlights right now. I've got 2 more partnerships that are probably going to be announced in the next couple of weeks with some other brands as well. But those are the ones I can talk about right now. Yeah. But the EG thing happened last week. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I'm their health or wellness and performance consultant for now.
Right.
So we're going to work on building a comprehensive, holistic approach to health and wellness for their players. And what that means eventually is you play better, right? Like that's the basis of everything I do, is like people don't want to be healthy so they can be healthy, right? There's a small fraction of society that actually wants that. A lot of people want to be healthy so they can do the things they love for longer. So I'm really excited about the EG thing. Yeah, the book's exciting. Mm-hmm. It's been a great year.
It really has. I would say, I mean, you are blowing up. And I am super proud, because it needs to happen. It needs to be addressed. It's being addressed. And I think this is something that's only going to grow, tenfold. And that's in some of our questions here, and we'll discuss that. We get to our questions right now, and quite simply, for anybody who's tuning in and might not understand, like you said, a lot of people don't even understand esports, but what is esports medicine?
Very good question. So gamers are people who use their hands, wrists, fingers to perform complex actions, right? So if I'm on a controller, I'm using my pointer finger, my ring finger, maybe if I have paddles, the back, and my thumbs.
Right.
And I'm doing hundreds of actions a minute, right? Because I need to turn left, but look right, and aim down my sights and fire and change my gun, reload. And then on PC, similarly, have, your fingers on the keyboard and your hand on the mouse. And so hundreds and hundreds of actions per minute. And the thing is that our muscles and our tendons in our hands weren't necessarily meant to do tiny little movements over and over again in non-ideal positions. So what starts to happen over the years is you get little tiny changes in those tendons, right? Little tiny changes in those muscles, or your posture gets a little bit worse, or the muscles in your back lengthen just a little bit. But for esports, in order to be excellent at something, you have to put 10,000 hours in. So imagine you're doing this for 10,000 hours. Those small changes become big changes. And so fundamentally, their body is structured differently. They have a lower lean body mass. They have different looking tendons. Their nerves might look like that of a 50 or 60-year-old. Their posture might look like that of a 50 or 60-year-old. And that puts them at risk for a lot of injuries. So hand and wrist strains, back issues, neck pain, eye strain. And that's what I thought esports medicine was when I was going into it. But I'm going into a field that, imagine, like I said, in the tweet, imagine if the NFL never had athletic trainers. Imagine if they don't have nutritionists, they don't have dietitians, they don't have this whole support staff. And all of a sudden you're a sports medicine doctor and you show up. You're wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the actual medicine is just one thing, routine setting, nutrition, sleep, exercise, strength and conditioning, injury prevention. It's hundreds and hundreds of things that I'm really doing. So it's, there's a lot of things, lots of hats.
And like when you said that, I mean, it doesn't fall on these kids to do it themselves. If you're a pro hired by an org, you're putting your time into what they hired you for. You're not hired to look into the medicines, the healthy aspects, the stuff like that. That might, some people might take it on themselves to do that, but an org really should have somebody to look after that stuff for the kids, because the kids are spending their time what they're pro at. An NFLer isn't going to take the time out and heal himself or do whatever he has to do to be peak at his game on the medical side. That's not his job. His job is to be good at football, and then the medical trainers take care of them when, and give him a training plan or whatever. The trainers all do that. So there's different aspects to it. I understand. And what she was talking about with controllers, I do want to show you this because I was briefly pro in Fortnite. So of course I have a lot of this stuff. But I use the sticks. I have a controller with the paddles on it, like she said. So just a Xbox 360 controller, but there's paddles on the back. So my fingers can be here and hit those paddles. So yes, I'm not just using my thumbs because my thumbs can't leave the joystick. It's time. So she was talking about these paddles on the back because that's a different action that you usually wouldn't do with a normal controller.
I could never do two paddles.
I don't use both paddles. They're just there because you can't remove them anymore.
Savage.
And then the eyes, I have blue light. And I will tell you, I was very skeptical of these because, get these glasses. They're going to help you. They really do help you. Eye fatigue is a huge thing. And for me, especially, and I find this when I drive now, I get headaches when it's too bright, or if I do have eye headaches, what I call eye headaches, but the headache starts like right in the back of your eye. These really do help. They're blue light glasses from Gunner Optics, and they are at times lifesavers for me because if I want to play, I'm not going to stop because of an eye headache. I need something to relieve it a little bit quicker and help my eyes from the strain, and these really do help. So parents, if you see this, there are simple things that will help the health and growth of your child. Or even if you are a grown child like myself, there are things that will help you.
We're still children. We're just grown.
Yeah, we're just grown. That's all it is.
We're grown.
But that is, you broke it down perfectly. What are some of the biggest problems with esports and health that you're seeing right now? And what I mean by that question is not necessarily just health and esports in general, but what do you see that kids are doing wrong, especially nowadays when it comes to, I'm not looking for any diagnosis or any answers or anything like that, but so like a chair, like my chair, a lot of people don't have the right posture when they're playing video games. And like you said, when it comes to keyboards and mice, your hands are sitting very differently than what, you know, a normal game for what, 4, 5, 6 hours. So what are the biggest things that you see, the biggest problems right now in esports and health?
So one of the things that's so interesting about esports and esports medicine is, if I work in traditional sports, I did work in traditional sports for a little while. People know if you play soccer, you can get an ankle sprain, right? They know that that is a risk. They know if they fall and feel their ankle twist funny and they have pain after, that's an ankle sprain. They have that awareness and understanding that if you participate in the sport, you can get injured.
Right.
So esports doesn't have that. So there's this fundamental lack of understanding that you can get injured playing video games. And to me, that's the number one issue.
Right.
Because if you don't know you can get injured, you can't prevent it, and you won't be able to treat it effectively after. So in soccer, if you know, okay, hey, I got to do strengthening exercises of my foot to prevent against ankle strain. Hey, I got loose ligaments, so I'm going to wear an ankle brace. This is going to prevent me from having an ankle sprain. After I get injured, all right, I'm going to ice it. I'm going to rest it. I'm going to give it some compression. I'm going to do physical therapy. Once the pain is a little bit better, I'm going to maintain my range of motion, and I'm going to heal, and I'm going to get better. In gaming, we don't have that either. So if you don't know you can get injured, you don't know you can recover from these injuries. So when people start feeling numbness and tingling in their pinky finger, when they start feeling pain in the back of the wrist, instead of being like, hey, this is something I need to go see someone about and fix, they say, hey, this is my life now.
Right.
And these kids are 18 years old, 17 years old. You know, that we see these people retire from competitive video gaming at 22, 23 years old.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Doesn't have to be that way. And you know, me being the person that I am, whenever an organization posts about someone retiring, I go look at why they retired. And there was this one incident last year where the player retired because of a pre-existing injury. So I tweeted at them and I was like, what kind of pre-existing injury would allow him to play and then have to retire? I'm like, medically, I don't understand that. And they're like, oh, it was head forward posture, which that's not a medical diagnosis. No. It's a postural dysfunction. Right. It's nerd neck. Yeah. And I was like, you're telling me no one on your staff could rehabilitate this man's back so he had better posture? Like the lack of accountability is just mind boggling. So that's really one of the major issues we see in esports. Lack of universal peripherals that fit everyone. So gaming chairs are super important. So I'm sitting in a Herman Miller Aeron right now, and this was the first chair I'd ever sat in that fit me. Yeah. Ever. Never in my life have I sat in an office chair that fit me. And that's because a lot of chairs are made for people 5'7" to 5'10". So a huge population in the gaming sphere is kids under 16, right? Yeah. And so we're seeing these kids sitting in these gaming chairs where their feet don't touch the ground, and if they do, it hits the back of their knees, or it's a bucket seat, which restricts movements. Gaming chairs were taken from South Korean luxury car companies that had leftover chair seats, and so they repurposed them as gaming chairs. I'm working with a new company to create a chair at a lower price point than this guy.
Yeah, that guy's expensive.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I love this chair, but this chair is never going to cost $300. Right. So let's take a $300, $400 chair and let's turn it into this chair. So that's what I'm working on right now. So that's kind of what I'm doing. That's one of the biggest issues in esports medicine right now.
And that's huge because like you said, I got this chair a few years ago, and for me, the lumbar support was never something that I ever thought of using. Now, fast forward a few years, and it's like, okay, I need this lumbar support now because it's getting to the point where I'm not even using half of this chair. Yeah. I'm sitting here and my back will start hurting, and people on stream will notice that I'm, is your back hurting? Lean back, ding dong. I was like, all right, fine. And, I find myself getting out of the correct posture, even with this chair. Now, this chair isn't exactly your chair, whereas probably, like you said, there's kids that have these big chairs or these DX racers or some other chairs. And yes, they're originally just car seats, or very fancy car seats, if you will.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that the chair fits you. And and a lot of them do have sizing charts. Use that sizing chart and make sure it does fit whoever this chair is going for, because they have big and tall, but like you said, this chair especially is a smaller chair at DX Racer was, and it was only 5'7". I'm 5'7.5". I'm not the tallest human being in the world, and my feet barely get to the floor. And so that is just to go show you, you do need, even in a chair, if you're going to be sitting for 3, 4, 5, you don't want to get too long in a session, but if you're sitting too long, you definitely want something that's going to support you. I've just had bad posture my entire life, and it's something that I'm trying to correct. And if you're a kid
Pitch those shoulder blades together and engage the core.
Yeah, and mine is always hunched over. But that goes back to gaming as a kid on a couch. When you're sitting forward leaning.
Oh, console gamers are the worst.
Worst. It is the worst.
We're not worse than mobile, but
Yeah, mobile's even, because I don't even know how you mobile game. I can't even get into that field. But with telehealth becoming more widely used, does this open the door for more orgs and colleges? Like you said, you become part of Evil Geniuses, but you don't physically have to be there anymore. Like, we're Zooming right now. You're in Washington, D.C. I'm in Michigan. Like, this is, just like gaming has taken a futuristic route that we didn't have any plans for. I really feel like the medical field is doing the same thing. So do you think this opens the door for more colleges to get more esports-minded medical personnel, or even the orgs? I think the orgs would be the bigger one, because obviously colleges do have some training staff, but maybe not esports background. But do you think this is opening a door?
Yes and no. So I think telehealth is beautiful. I think that telehealth is the future of medicine. There's no reason you need to do your annual checkup with your primary doctor in person. There's no reason, if you have a skin lesion or a skin rash, you need to go in to see your dermatologist. But we always in medicine are run by dinosaurs. The people who make the decisions in traditional medicine most of them are dinosaurs. And I'm really sorry if you're listening and you think that, but it's true.
I mean, to be honest with you, to be fair, it was the same way with media and news. I'm as far as I know right now, I am the only person in the country running esports on a news channel. So, I mean, there's a lot of old thinking around a lot of stuff. A lot of people don't like change. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
And it's like, by the time you get to the, when you're young and you're enthusiastic, by the time you get to be a decision maker, you're burnt out and tired. So you're not going to change it. So like electronic medical records, right? Writing your notes in the computer still is not universally accepted. There are still people who write on paper notes and then scan it into the chart, and they're like, this is my EMR. So it's hard, because in order to get, so if the patients are open to it, right? So I go on my campaign across the world and teach people you can get injured playing video games, and teach them that you can prevent it, and teach them the ways to treat it. And they're like, okay, cool. Let me go to I got wrist pain. Let me go to my doctor. And they go to their doctor, and their doctor's like, you do what? Esports what? Gaming what? The medical community still rejects video gaming. I gave a talk 3 years ago. I don't know, I looked at the clock for 3 years ago, but at our medical convention for my specialty, and it was thousands of people in the room. And when I said what I did, people were laughing. Right? They thought I was kidding. They weren't being mean. They thought I was kidding. Yeah. And still to this day, I pitch this idea because I offer training to medical doctors. I have a training for medical doctors, and people are like, why would I need to do that? But it's like, dude, like 30% of the country are gamers. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a pediatrician, a primary care doctor, a surgeon, you're going to see gamers unless you're aware of the signs and symptoms of these injuries. You're missing out, and you're providing subpar healthcare. So yes and no, I think telehealth is a great opportunity for these teams and players to have access to more support, but we need to get the doctors up to speed too.
Right. And I 100% agree with that. Another aspect of this that I didn't think of, and to be honest with you, I should, because in Northern Michigan, a lot of people just aren't, acceptive of video games just yet. But when you look around, every kid has a video game of some sort, or they're watching highlights of video games of some sort. So it really is again a generational thing, where video games are just a part of kids' lives now. I mean, that's what it is. And when I was a kid, when you were a kid, it was kind of just starting where, people were getting consoles pretty much in every house. And now everyone has PCs in their house. Everyone has consoles as well, but you can game on anything. Most everyone has one of these. This is the biggest gaming platform in the world.
Yep.
So it's just it's part of a generation right now. And when you talk about old ways or old habits, yes, there's a big generational gap between even these and the current generation. So I understand 100% when you say
I can't agree more with what you're saying. I just kind of just like double down on that for a second, because there's probably a lot of people listening right now who are still scoffing and being like, I don't understand, blah, 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 blah. This is the future. This is the now, right? And it's happening whether or not you get on board. And the thing is that it doesn't have just medical implications.
Right.
Kids don't watch TV anymore.
Right.
If you're in marketing, if you're trying to sell a brand, if you work in any sort of sales or marketing, you also need to know what video games are. You need to be running commercials on YouTube videos. You need to be running commercials on TikTok. The current state of the internet right now is video games, is social media, and ignoring that fact is bad for business, right?
Very much so.
It's just,
and that's one reason why I kind of based this show around. I was like, all right, if we're trying to get kids' attention, because when I grew up, Saturday morning cartoons were the thing, man. You would you would get up, you would get your bowl of cereal, you would sit in front of the TV and watch Saturday morning cartoons.
Recess.
Oh yeah, all of it.
Ed and Eddie.
And the thing is, like, I had this idea. I was like, if we want to get back to kids turning on the TV for something, have it being a Saturday morning cartoon where you have first 10 minutes like a YouTube highlight, because that's what kids turn to. When they wake up, YouTube, it's there, it's free, it's easy. Over the air TV is free. So what stops them from getting up, grabbing their bowl of cereal, and turning on my program where it is some YouTube highlights and then some education? I mean, we need to get back to that, I think, in TV to kind of get eyeballs back, because there is a generation right now that doesn't watch TV. It is internet, it's Twitch, it's YouTube, it is, Snapchats, it's Instagram, it's TikTok. So if you can bring some of that back to TV, you kind of get back in line. But I think there is, like you said, I'm jumping on board now before it's too late and you're like, well, we missed that wagon.
Right.
So I think you 150,000% correct in all of that. Is something that you need to embrace. You had a tweet yesterday about it with the TikTokers, and I couldn't agree more with that. Like, just because they're doing it and you're not, don't be upset at them. They're taking full advantage. I mean, the quickest way, it is proven scientifically, and just if you watch it, the quickest way to grow your brand right now is TikTok. That simple. And I'm not saying go to TikTok and be familiar with TikTok. Just don't hate on the TikTokers, because they are getting ahead in life right now. And they're using that platform. What are some of your challenges that come with being an esports doctor? Everybody has their challenges. For me, weather, obviously being in Michigan, it is one of the hardest states to forecast for in the world. Because, we're surrounded by big water. We have 4 seasons. It's not easy. There's a million different variables in the atmosphere. But what is the biggest challenge in your field?
For me as a physician, I've never had to prove to people that I'm necessary, right? I open spots in my clinic, they get filled. You want to come see me as a new patient, there's a 3-month waiting list, right? Like, people are constantly filling. Anyone who's ever tried to book an appointment with a doctor in a major city knows that you have to wait a couple weeks, a couple months to get in.
Yeah.
Because people know they need that service and they want it. In esports, I have to, first of all, the first thing I do before I even deal with, before I put my hand on a wrist, before I do any sort of diagnoses, is prove to people that I'm necessary.
Right.
And that's not something that I've ever had to do before as a doctor.
You wouldn't think doctors have to do that.
No.
It's usually the other way around. Patients usually feel like they have to prove to you that they can come to see you, especially in smaller cities like here in Cadillac, where doctors' offices are booked all the time. There's only a certain window that you can get in, maybe, and you have to prove, or you feel like you have to prove. So it is kind of reversed. You, as a medical professional, you should not have to prove that you are good for somebody.
Yep.
I mean,
so that's really my challenge right now.
That is mind-boggling. Yours is mind-boggling. Mine's mind-boggling. So do you see, with that being in mind, or with this starting to grow, though, do you see more esports medical professionals in the next 5 to 10 years?
Definitely. And I'm trying to do what I can to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have a group of medical students and residents and interns that I meet with
Oh, that's
to
cool.
discuss these things. And, I try and make myself available as a mentor to like younger people in the area, because people see med students see what I'm doing. I give talks at med schools and they say, I want to do that.
Right.
But a part of me feels bad because it's like, in medicine, you graduate from med school and you have a job, right? You get matched into a job that's going to last 4 years.
Right.
And there's no choice there. You're just going right into the job. And then when you get out of residency, there's 5 jobs lined up for you. Just pick, right? Mm-hmm. No one in medicine has ever had to create a job for themselves, because it's just, there's such a demand for physicians that you have so many options. But if you decide you want to go into esports medicine, you have to create your own job. You have to build your own path. You have to be out there telling people that this is something they need. And so I feel bad because not everyone's personality is designed for that, because we're all so afraid of rejection, right? We're all so afraid that someone's going to tell us they don't want us. And so I'm trying to build the demand for physicians. So when there are trained people entering the space, there is a place for them to go into.
So with that being in mind, are there any colleges that are looking into possibly picking up more on the esports side, or do you know of programs that kids can look into with this mindset, or do you just, advocate go through medical school and then do something else, like maybe intern more on the esports side of things?
Yeah, you got to go to med school. You got to get a training. You got to go to residency. I would recommend physical medicine and rehabilitation. It's the best specialty for esports medicine, in my opinion.
Right.
I'm a little biased, but that's my specialty. And then, when you're in med school, taking a very good look at the social media policies and starting to build your brand.
Right.
Because brand awareness is really important. Brand awareness is what got me where I am. I started building my brand on Twitter. Right. I started building this brand on Twitter when I was in residency, and it wasn't a business yet, but I had a very competitive contract. I couldn't take money to do anything. I couldn't take a job anywhere else. I couldn't do any work outside of residency. So I could either say, well, crap, this sucks, and, wait until I'm done with residency and starting to build that brand. But what I did instead was create a social media profile, create YouTube videos, starting to create this brand awareness. So the biggest recommendation that I have for anyone who wants to get into esports medicine is to start building your brand on social media and creating brand awareness.
Now, this might be a little bit off topic, and this will be the last question. I have a sister that's in the sports medicine field as well. Do you run into with social media and stuff like that? Did you bring that up because of like HIPAA things and stuff like that, or just being there's certain things that you might not be able to say as a doctor or whatnot? Is that why you kind of tell everyone pay attention to the social media guidelines?
So it goes back to the people making decisions are dinosaurs, right?
There we go.
So I'll tell this wonderful story because I'm not in this contract anymore. But at my old job, I was building this brand online on Twitter, and I'm very careful. I don't give medical advice. It was just education. Right. The disclaimers are written everywhere, the beginning and end of all of my videos. And I was building this brand, and I started working with my hospital. They wanted to build a center for esports medicine, and they were so excited about it. And I was helping them build it. We're building out a curriculum. We're going to create a medical student training program for everyone. Cool. So you could come to us and train in our esports medicine center and become an esports doctor. And I get a call from the head of the sports medicine department on a Saturday afternoon. Mm-hmm. And he's like, listen, we just found out about your side gig. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, GamerDoc. I was like, yeah, I'm building a social media presence, a brand. And he's like, you can't do that if you want to do this with us. And I'm like, okay, then I'm like, then find someone else.
What was their problem?
They didn't want me to, they thought it was a conflict of interest. And so guess what? They don't have an esports medicine center. People message me all the time saying, hey, I saw that you built an esports medicine training program at that place. Can I go there? And I was like, don't go there. They don't have it anymore. Huh. So it's short-sighted egos, that get in the way. So so you have to be careful. That's why, that's why I took a very good look at it. I was like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
There's nothing that's so, that's why I doubled down.
Well, hey, joke's on them because look at you now. And I guarantee you somewhere down the line, there will be a GamerDoc esports center in some hospital somewhere with your statue out front.
I don't need that. I just want the.
Listen, that's what founders get though. All right, because they got to be immortalized somehow.
Oh my god!
Who knows? Maybe we'll find a pill that just keeps you around forever, and you just be a GamerDoc forever.
I mean, I'd love to help build a center or a medical
really
student
cool.
training program. I'd love to do that. It's just like I'm not gonna. I have so many opportunities right now. I'm not gonna go out there and go to med schools and be like, hey, let me build this for you.
Kudos to you. To standing your ground and saying, no, I find someone else then. Because, this day and age, that's a gamble. When you say, I'm out. Like, you don't know what's next. And especially in the esports field, you're paving your own path. There's really no blueprints yet. You're building blueprints for the esports side of things. I like to think I'm building some blueprints for the media side of things. And that's just how esports goes a lot of the way. Nobody has built this path yet. Everyone's kind of blazing their own trail and saying, exactly, where am I going? But kudos to you for standing your ground, because nowadays I don't think many people would do that, especially in the medical field. It's tough to say, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. I'm going this way. But you had that mind, like, I got to do it. I'm going this way. Screw you. I'm going this way. That's awesome. So with that being said, is there anything else that you'd like to mention on the question portion? We have a fun little game here at the end. I know our time's getting a little bit short here. But is there anything that you want to bring up that some parents might not be aware of, or some kids might not be aware of?
So I'm writing a book, A Parent's Guide to Esports, right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm interviewing, professional esports players and their parents.
That's cool.
And the common denominator across all of the relationships is that the parents got involved early on. And I'm not saying you need to be in the room with them while they're gaming. I'm asking questions about what they're doing, understanding the game, asking how can I support you, giving them the tools they need to succeed has led to not only positive careers, but also relationships between the parents and the kids. So it's like rock and roll. Like your parents probably didn't understand rock and roll, and you went out there and you lived your rock and roll life, and it created a divide between parents and kids. And look, rock and roll is still here. Yeah. So
how can they be involved? That's essentially involve yourself in your kid's life. Help them with making choices, and that's one reason why I wanted to start this program. Because if your kid does want to go to school for esports, guess what? There's a tool for you to find out where these esports programs are, or how you can get involved, how you can best support your child down the road in their dream of video games or something wrapped around video games. And that's the biggest thing. Let's get this negative stereotype of video games being a negative or anything wrapped around video games, because it's not a negative. This is a great way and great tool, and support your children for what they want to do. Like, I've always wanted to deal with video games. When I went to school, there was no choice for esports and video games.
No. Yeah.
But I wanted to be a meteorologist since I was a kid. Now we're getting to the point where I was like, video games is becoming a thing that I can actually really dive into. I never would have thought I would have been into esports. I never would have thought I'd been a pro. Never thought I'd been a manager in an organization. And look, 6 years in this little progress, there's so many doors. Look at me now. So yes, that is that you're out of the hot seat for now with those questions. But now we have a fun little game. I call it rapid fire questions. They are not rapid fire. I give you time to explain why your answers are what they are, because everyone's always had some issues with these. These will not ruin our friendship. I promise you, GamerDoc. Right. But they are some fun questions here. So favorite platform / console. First question.
Xbox. I mean,
hey, all right.
I mean, come on. I think there used to be not such a difference between the two platforms. It used to be, but now I think PlayStation's going the direction of like the single player, beautiful storyline, and Xbox is really doubling down on multiplayer experiences. So.
Oh, just the entertainment experience in general, I think. I mean, they just kind of put an all entertainment system in one. But now, they're catering to PC gamers too, where they have higher specs. I mean, it's getting to the point where you need to spec higher. But the Xbox 360 is probably my favorite console. It was just so slick, so clean. We were introduced to a nice OS, and you could talk to your friends. Like, that was so hard to do for so long. Favorite game?
Fortnite.
Yeah, that's a good one. Finally, somebody said a game that I know. No, I put it a lot of. I've had a PUBG Pro. I've had some other people that pull games out that I'm just like, what game is that? Go to snack while gaming if you do it all. See, I don't eat when I game.
I don't eat while I game. Yeah.
So, but a lot of people like Cheez-Its or like gummies or something like that. I was like, I never do
Black
that.
coffee.
Black coffee. Yeah. Don't start aging us, please. Favorite TV show / movie?
Rick and Morty.
Oh, Rick and Morty is a good one. I love me some Rick and Morty.
The humor is both funny, stupid, and intelligent all at the same time.
All at the same time. All packaged in together. And when they had Rick in Fortnite, I was like, oh, I am grinding this battle pass. I am getting my Rick. Favorite guilty pleasure? If you have one. For me, it's like NSYNC. It's like when I grew up, you weren't allowed to like boy bands. Especially like me. I was the Limp Bizkit guy, but I was like, I like all forms of music.
I could see that.
Don't put me in the closet. But anytime like JT comes on now, like, oh, I'm all about it. Crank it, windows down.
Your body.
Yeah.
I would say regular Coca-Cola. So when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, it was someone left a Coca-Cola on the side of the road and it was really cold and delicious. And ever since then, like whenever I need a boost, like every couple of months, I'll have like a regular Coke.
Yeah. Fountain Coke for me is so good. But
oh my God, at Chuck E. Cheese. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, it tastes so good at Chuck E. Cheese.
So good. The thing was, you're so hot and sweaty from playing in the ball pit. It's like, oh, that Coke, so good.
It's so good.
Favorite pro team of a traditional sport?
The Lions.
Yeah, there you go. I was waiting for it, but I didn't know if you were going to admit to that one. I'm just Detroit kid all around. So even the Pistons, but I was like, I'm not a huge basketball guy, but
yeah.
Funny
Pistons
story
Pacers.
for you. Juwan Howard, who now coaches the University of Michigan basketball team, got me out of competitive basketball. Got me out of. In fourth grade, we had a basketball camp and I shot a half shot and he was coaching. And I switched it, just nailed it. I turned around. Yeah. He stopped me. He's like, you probably should look at a different competitive sport, and then ran away. I was like, Juwan Howard just told me to quit basketball, dude. Never touched a basketball in competitive since. So there you go. Cat or dog person?
Dogs.
Yeah.
My golden doodle's right here.
My Newfoundland was, you probably saw him.
I saw him pop open the door.
That's Bowser. And then we have a bass hound named Koopa. First car?
Chevy Equinox. Detroit area, you gotta have an American-made car. Especially, I was right outside of the world headquarters, so people gave me stuff for having a Chevy.
Oh yeah, you can't have the bow tie. You gotta have Ford.
Oh my God, I know.
I had my first was 1989 Ford Probe.
What is that?
Look it up. It's a goofy looking car. It was white, red interior, had white pop-up lights on the front. I think it was Ford's take on a late 80s sports car. It was, I loved it. It was my grandma's car. She handed it down. I was like, sweet.
Love that.
Would you rather, okay, this one's on left field. This one gets everybody a little bit. Would you rather be attacked by one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I can probably outrun the one. So I could outrun one.
I don't ever think anyone's ever come up with that analogy. People are like, I'll climb a tree with 100 horse-sized or 100 duck-sized horses.
No, they can jump on top of each other. They can like pile like Daisy zombies.
They're cranking 90s.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with that many of anything. Yeah, give me one horse-sized duck.
Oh, that's good. I never put it that way. All right, GamerDoc, last question. Anywhere in the world, where are you going?
I love my house. I love my backyard.
It's not the only person that have said that. So don't feel bad. But to be honest with you, there is something about home. There's something about being in your own bed. There's something about being in the place that you've built, figuratively or literally. But yeah, I don't blame you. For me, I always say if I could live somewhere that isn't Northern Michigan in 4 seasons, because I absolutely love this weather. Fall's my favorite season. I would go to Hawaii. Just because we went to Hawaii, the water's 85. It was 75 at night, 90 during the day. There's no bugs. It was nice.
Hold on. I want to change my answer in case my parents are watching.
Oh.
I would go home to Michigan.
I'll make sure to send a copy down to your parents. You saved it, GamerDoc.
Yeah.
Again, this is our podcast, the One Up XP Show with GamerDoc, the esports medical professional. You can find her book, this book, Handbook of Esports Medicine, the clinical aspects of competitive video gaming. You can find her on Twitter. I'm sure you have the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. She streams on Twitch as well. The schedule might be a little bit different now with your book being absolutely full, but is there anything else that you want to pitch out there for your socials or where people can find you, or just look into the background of GamerDoc and esports?
Yeah, Twitter probably is the best, where I put the most reliable content. If you're on TikTok, please come save me from the 12-year-old trolls, because they hate me for playing video games.
Oh, I love that one that you posted where he tried to record you or put your
yeah. Oh my god, that was wild. I'm so glad I like the thought process of that guy. Like, he went, I don't know if you saw, but he went down into the river and built roofs so I wouldn't fall into the water, and then wow. But yeah, I post videos on TikTok because I love TikTok, and people are like, "You're not good." I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's not gonna stop me from having a good time, dude.
Yes, and
your
so
point,
come
please.
save me from the trolls.
But yes, thank you again. I do appreciate it. I do want to tell you this though. You are from Michigan. I totally found this. I have a piece of the Mackinac Bridge.
I love that.
So here's your little piece from home. So you can see it and say, oh, I miss home. But
were you allowed to take that?
Yes.
Should we be worried about the structural integrity of the Mackinac Bridge?
You can buy these. Because when they upgrade the grates every year, they cut out little sections and sell them for the bridge.
Okay.
So this is perfect. This is legally purchased, y'all. Don't hate me. But my wife got it for me for
anniversary. Pulls out his trench coat as pieces of bridge.
Hey, you want a piece of bridge? There's a hole over there in the middle. But thank you again. I appreciate your time. Be good, be well. And for anybody who's watching, thank you for hanging out with us and hopefully learning a little more about esports medicine. Again, you can find her book or Twitter, everywhere that you look. Thank you again, GamerDoc. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.